Welcome to Daily Saints with Grace. Fast, faithful stories told with clarity and heart. On November 19th, the Church in the United States remembered Saint Rose Philippine Duchesne, the woman who prayed her way from Grenoble to the American frontier and made a home for grace in places that barely had roofs. She did not chase applause. She kept a promise, and the promise kept her. She had been born into comfort, educated, refined, surrounded by families who knew how to fill a salon. Yet, as a teenager, she slipped past the velvet of her world and entered the visitation against her father's will. The door closed behind her, and then the revolution arrived, closing every door at once. Convents emptied. Habits disappeared. She kept the rule in secret like a flame cupped in two hands. When peace returned, she tried to rebuild the ruins. The numbers were small. The debts were large. The walls remembered the past and resisted the future. Then a new community gave her a second start, the religious of the Sacred Heart, and her life bent toward mission. In 1818, she boarded a ship with 4 sisters and sailed for New Orleans. Letters had promised ready houses and sure support. Reality was a river with sandbars. Rumors suggest some promises arrived thinner than the envelopes that carried them. They pushed north on steamboats to Missouri, then by wagon to St. Charles, where the walls were logs and the wind came through the cracks. She opened a school, often called the first free school west of the Mississippi, and taught with a vocabulary that lagged behind her heart. When English betrayed her tongue, prayer did not. Money failed often. Winter failed worse. She begged when begging was holy. Quiet letters, careful visits, the kind of courage that walks into town alone because children need books. Houses multiplied anyway. St. Charles, then Florissant, then St. Louis. Novices came. Schools opened. Sisters learned the map by blisters. Reports claim that whenever the ledger went red, her answer was the chapel. The accounts did not balance by magic. They balanced because someone stayed long enough for Providence to use ordinary help. And the girls who studied in drafty rooms learned to pray like they were building a future. They were. In 1841, at 71, she asked to go with the sisters serving the Potawatomi at Sugar Creek, Kansas. She could not teach much. Age and English stood like fences. So she did the one thing no fence could stop. She prayed. Children, it said, placed pebbles on the train of her habit at night. In the morning the pebbles had not moved. The story traveled faster than translations. They called her the woman who prays always. The name fit like a borrowed coat that finally felt like home. When the winters bit too hard, she returned to Missouri, but the prayer did not return with her. It stayed in Sugar Creek like a monument without a plaque. Her sanctity did not glitter. It groaned. She wrote letters, mended floors, argued gently with accountants, learned to let younger women run faster while she guarded the tabernacle like a watchman. If usefulness were measured only by output, she might have seemed small. But the missions did not run on output. They ran on presence, and hers did not blink. The frontier respected that kind of stubborn. It made room for schools because a nun would not stop unlocking the door at dawn. Perseverance became the miracle nobody noticed until they did. Old age narrowed her day to a thin line between chapel and refectory. She did not pretend to be young. She only insisted on being faithful. Girls kept coming. Sisters kept leaving for towns whose names still sounded like experiments. The work outlived the workers because the workers had learned how to be small. If she had been born for the drawing rooms of Grenoble, she died content in a house that creaked when the wind turned. The world she left behind had more education and more Eucharist than when she arrived. That is the ledger that mattered. She died in 1852 at St. Charles. The map she left behind traced schools across Missouri and Louisiana, a mission among the Potawatomi, and a habit of prayer that did not retire. The church later beatified her in 1940 and canonized her in 1988. Dates are tidy. Her real legacy is not. It lives wherever someone keeps teaching when funding is thin, staying when plans break, and praying when words will not come. That life is not glamorous. It is indestructible. If her story steadied you, comment. She stayed. Name one place where perseverance might change a life this week. Your home, your classroom, your parish. Like this video so others see it. Subscribe to Daily Saints with Grace for faithful stories told with heart, and share it with someone who is tired but not finished. Saint Rose Philippine Duchesne did not win by speed. She won by showing up until showing up turned wilderness into home. Saint Rose Philippine Duchesne, pray for us.